we created a listener object, right? And what do? We are adding it as an observer here. So whenever, right, whenever there is some message that stands to the queue, this will be aware of it. This listener will be aware of it, and the control comes here. The message, whatever you want to do with the message, we actually keep that in the on message. Because we're just writing the code here, it could be like, would I have this code in any different entity? So folks, usually when we go in a real-time environment, we do have the queues of objects that are created. So what do is we configure them in our server. So through the admin consoles, we can just create a queue in WebSphere or WebLogic, configure in specific server. There will be some names and reports wherein we could access the queues. So we'll get that information about the queue and we create them in the server and we look them up using the JNDA lookup, as I've seen context.lookup. But when we are doing some kind of a batch jobs, right, in standalone programs or batch jobs, we use the kind of code that we just did in JMS example. Folks, any questions? View this like high level information on this. But folks, ActiveMQ is very easy. You could just run it on your local also. But don't keep it consumes some space and all that. But you could just have it for. I mean, if it's not always running, I don't think it's a big issue. But whenever you're trying to practice, it's just you just get it, unzip it, and then you just drop it.
What exactly is this one? Is it kind of server? Or?
It's a provider. It's a broker.
Okay, and what exactly?
We call it as a message broker. Queues and actually, they'll be running inside this message broker. So if I don't have this, right, because the queue is actually up and running in this message broker. But now I don't have it. What happens when I run it? It won't be able to look up for the queue. I'm saying in the specific code, we call it as a broker, but it's a kind of server which is actually up and running on it. So we are saying, go, it is hosted on a particular port, right?
You said it's kind of queue, right?
Yes, they are present in this ActiveMQ server. The queue, they are present in the ActiveMQ server. If you want to access the queue, it has to be up and running.
So what I'm trying to ask is, this is your local machine, or you can say client. Where does this ActiveMQ go? If you
it is in my machine, but when you go to real time, we don't have it in your machine. But you could have it hosted on any box.
Okay, and it will do.
Yeah, I'm saying local host. If it is a different thing, I'll be specifying that host name and all the details.
Okay, so
here I'm actually starting it.
That's okay. This one is you say ActiveMQ is a queue, right? So if you say
ActiveMQ is a message broker. You could have topics and queues created. It's one of the JMS providers that's available in market.
Okay, that's okay.
For the specification, we need a provider, right? See, like a servlet container, we have Tomcat and all this and different things. WebLogic, WebSphere. Same way, like for the JMS providers, we have multiple things. It's one of the providers, and usually the name we call them as like the JMS providers or message brokers, where we create the topics and queues inside them.
Yeah, okay, but this one is let's say this ActiveMQ is on other server, and
Mm-hmm.
this is your laptop, which is a client,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sending a message on that server. Now we need to change the TCP link, right?
Yes.
Right. So now, if my computer is one more client or receiver or some kind of thing,
Yes.
do
You
I need
have to
to
give
change?
the same link. Let's say in someone else's box, right? Let's say in Joseph's box, we have the queue installed. Okay? So
Queue?
we have like the message broker and queue is created inside.
Okay.
Okay? So I, as a producer, I get his link and over the network, of course, I should be able to connect to the box, right? I put the messages in it. And let's say you're consuming the messages, you could connect to Joseph Box and create a destination, like, get a consumer and listen to the messages.
Okay. So do I need to use the specific API for that one then?
Yes,
Like
of course.
if I'm a receiver, do I
Uh-huh.
need to use the same API, active, what you said?
See, yeah, that's a good question. Actually, the GMS has some kind of a level of abstraction that you could maintain and you could get it without using the specific active MQ API also. GMS has its own specification, but if you're not using the lookups and the objects, it's more advisable to use the same.
So
See, it's different for different things. The IBM ones, you could have for non-Java consumers and all as well. But ActiveMQ is strict towards the JVM. Let's say mine is Java and yours is a .NET. ActiveMQ is not a good option.
okay. So
It's like different providers have different. But let's say if you have like non-Java networks or the destinations that you want to connect, IBM works better. It has a different API wherein it supports. It
okay.
need not necessarily, yeah.
So you said in that slides, uh, for server you need to look into